In Britain, in 1854, war fever gripped the nation.
The Russians have invaded Turkey.
The Russian fleet gets into the Mediterranean, they'll take all Europe.
Our men are going out east to give the bear a beating he'll not forget.
On 14th of September, British and French troops invaded the Crimea. Their mission was to destroy the naval base at Sevastopol and sink the Russian fleet.
Hurrah for the Crimea!
Take Sevastopol in a week or two and then back home.
On 26th of September, the British took the fishing village of Balaclava and began bombarding Sevastopol. But the base at Balaclava was far from secure.
We have daily skirmishes with the Cossacks.
They nearly surrounded our patrol yesterday.
Today our patrol was fired on. Some shot and shell.
The Russians attacked Balaclava on 25th of October. Their cavalry was turned back by British infantry and by the Heavy Brigade.
The infantry opened fire on them, volley after volley.
I saw the heavies with their swords hacking away.
The Russians were soon back over the hills the way they came.
In fact, the Russians reformed at the far end of a mile-long valley.
We could see the enemy had placed a battery of guns across the valley.
They had guns on the high ground to our left and right.
When the Russians on the high ground were seen dragging away captured British cannons, the Light Brigade was ordered to
advance rapidly and try to prevent the enemy carrying away the guns.
Somehow this order was misunderstood. Lord Cardigan ordered his trumpeter, Billy Britton, to sound the advance. The brigade soon came under fire from the first Russian battery on the heights to the left.
The first shot killed poor Nolan.
John Lee was all but smashed by a shell.
My right-hand man, Walter Brooks, was shot, who was my comrade for over 3 years.
As the brigade advanced, it came within range of the guns to the front, and was now under fire from 2 batteries at once.
The guns sent out streaks of fire inside a gush of thick white smoke.
My horse was wounded on the neck, and this covered me with blood.
The round shot passed through us. The shells burst over us, killing and wounding.
The brigade was now halfway down the valley, and came within range of the 3rd Russian battery, on the heights to the right.
I lost my poor horse. A shell caught her in the chest.
Whistling and cracking of shells was beyond description.
Sergeant Talbot had his head carried off by a round shot. Yet for 30 yards the headless body kept the saddle.
When the brigade was within 100 yards of the Russian guns, Cardigan shouted an order, and Billy Britton blew the charge.
Off we went at a thundering gallop, cheering like madmen.
The pace increased amidst a shower of shot and shell. Men and horses dropped by scores.
The flame, the smoke, the roar were in our faces. It was like riding into the mouth of a volcano.
The guns fired a final volley as the brigade reached them. A bank of smoke had formed along the gun line, and the survivors charged straight in.
What few reached the guns cut away like madmen.
The smoke was so dense I could not see my arm. In this gloom we cut and thrust like demons.
A Russian cut me across the thigh. I drove my lance into him.
Behind the gun line there were regiments of Russian cavalry, and these now attacked the scattered survivors of the Light Brigade.
I heard a fearful yell, and was surrounded by 5 Cossacks flourishing swords.
Wounded men were riding about, covered with blood.
I saw Private Clifford charge into the Russians. He was cut and pierced to death.
The Russians sent extra cavalry into the valley to cut off the survivors.
I was pursued by 7 Cossacks. I put my spurs to my horse and bolted.
A Cossack made a cut at me, but not another, for I left him on the ground.
The wounded stumbled back towards the British lines.
With my shattered knee I could barely limp.
I walked back through a field of blood, scrambling over dead and dying men and horses.
The survivors reached safety, but the loss had been severe.
I went to the tent I had shared with 9 others, and found myself alone now.
The badly wounded were taken to the hospital at Scutari, run by Florence Nightingale, but many died there.
Oh, my poor men, I have been such a bad mother to you, to leave you lying in your Crimean grave.
William Russell, war correspondent of the Times, broke the news to the British people.
Cavalry action at Balaclava, October the 25th. A more fearful spectacle was never witnessed than today.
Alfred Tennyson, the poet laureate, read Russell's report. Immediately he began writing,
Half a league, half a league, half a league onward.
The charge of the Light Brigade had been a costly mistake. Yet when the men returned home, they found the nation fascinated by the charge.
A medal, a staring tale of the charge were worth a 3/4 of ale in any hostelry in England.
It remains history's most famous cavalry charge. In 1890, Thomas Edison recorded Alfred, Lord Tennyson, reciting part of his most famous poem.
Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death, the road is shut. Forward the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death, the road is shut. There's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered.